Hello everyone, my name is Lược-TTg Chiến. I come from A&B Chemical Corporation Company. Today it's my pleasure to present our topic, the circular economy, the governance and the roadmaps in Vietnam chemical industry. Firstly, I want to introduce the general information about my country. Its land spanning more than 331,000 square kilometers, with a population of 99.46 million inhabitants, experience an impressive the GDP per capita of $4,110. Vietnam is a substantial exportation of goods amounting to $391.3 billion and an importation of goods totaling $358.9 billion in 2022. Notably, Vietnam's economy showed an impressive GDP growth rate of 8.83% in the same year, marking its emergence as a significant player on the global stage. Vietnam is a developing country, so we're facing with several challenges such as the resource depletion, environmental pollution, and the climate change. Along with the development process, there are three models, namely the linear economic model, the recycling economic model, and the circle economic model. For the first model, the traditional linear economy, we base on the extraction of the raw material and then transform into the products that are used until they are finally discarded as the waste. And the second model has the advantage in recycling some part of the waste to replace the natural resource. And the last model is the circular economy model, also can overcome all of the disadvantages as mentioned before. Recycling the waste and the product also prolong their life via the repair or the reuse process. Therefore, a transition from the traditional linear economy into the circle economy is very necessary and important for the circular economy in Vietnam. Currently, Vietnam does not have a specific policies on the circular economy. Regulations on circular economy are integrated into the legal documents or policies on environmental protections, sustainable development, green growth, and related policies. In the 2020, the definition of the circular economy were first put on the Vietnam's law on environmental and protection. In this, the definition is focused on reducing the exploitations of the raw materials, prolong the product life cycle, and limits the waste generation. And finally, the circular economies also focus on minimizing the adverse impacts on the environment. In 2021, the Premier's Ministry approved the projects toward the circular economy through the decision number 687. And from the 2021 to the 2030s, circular economies were identified as one of the Vietnam's development orientations for achieving the sustainable development and environmental protection. And the next part is the current status about the circular economy in Vietnam, about the policies and the legal framework. The Vietnam's Communist Party and the government has issued a range of the policies, directives, regulations, and the action plans for the sustainable development, which includes many principles for the circular economy. Besides, the government not only issues the policies and the regulations, but also directly administer the implementation of such policy and regulation, particularly of the provision of many basic public service and the social service, such as the education, health, environmental protection. Therefore, many ministers also involved into the management of the circular economy in Vietnam, like the Ministry of the Finance, Ministry of the Natural Resource and the Environment, the Ministries of the Industry and the Trade, or the Ministry of Planning and Investment. In Vietnam, the chemical sector has developed rapidly and plays an important role in the socio-economic development of Vietnam. Its world divided into 10 sectors, and the chemical industry and its related supply chains contribute about 11.2% of the national industrial production value, and it also created jobs for 10% of the entire industrial workforce, with an estimation of 2.7 million labor, with the 725,000 direct employees in chemical production. Meanwhile, China and Taiwan is the two biggest markets of importation for chemical in Vietnam. Based on the current situation and the overall assessment of the government, the chemical industry in Vietnam has several opportunities in the future. For instance, firstly, the transition of the chemical manufacturers to developing countries. So Vietnam has a big advantage in funding investment. The second one, the chemical industry is the orientated industry of the government. So the policies and the strategies are priority to promote for the development of this industry. And the chemical products has been consumed by different industries, so the demand is going on in the future. And the last point, the markets for the exploitation has been expanded. Thus, the global market promotes significantly for the chemical industry development. However, the chemical industry also faces with many challenges. First one, due to the development of the science and technology, the competition in the quantity and quality in chemical products between Vietnam and other countries are increased. The raw material as the input material for chemical industry also decreased, and the policy and the laws bring in the difficulties for companies to adapt. Some of the problem in the environmental pollution risk and the safety in the chemical industry are the reason for the lack of the manufacture location. And finally, the raw material are mostly depend on the exportation, leading to a passive input. So the manufacturing of Vietnam mostly depends on the situation of the other country. Recently, Vietnam does have a clear roadmap in the chemical industry to overcome the difficulties in the development of this industry. Vietnam approving the chemical industry development strategy till 2030 with a vision to 2040, and chemical industry will be developed in a sustainable and eco-friendly manner towards the green growth and the circular economy. Based on the Chemical Industry Development Strategy by 2030 Vision to 2040, some of the targets were set as the goal, such as the chemical industry is expected to have an average growth rate of 10 or 11% per year in 2030 and 8 to 8% in the 2040. By 2040, Vietnam is to adopt advantage technologies to produce the products under international standards and deeply participate in global value chains for producing the high-quality products. And finally, a professional and skilled labor force with a good discipline and high productivity shall be cultivated, which contribute to develop an independent and self-reliant economy. Moreover, the detailed objectives for various orientative sectors were determined, such as the petrochemicals and the rubber, fertilizer, planting protection chemicals, factories, detergent, industrial gas, tire and tube, and the pen and printing ink products. United Nations Development Programme, the UNDP, is an organization has been working closely with the government of Vietnam and other partners. They have the governments to develop the policies, leadership skills, partnering ability, and build the resilience to achieve the sustainable development goals. So we want to share about their viewpoint and the suggestion in the chemical industry in the circular economy. In the first point, because the law on the chemical in 27 is about to revise in this year 2023. So they suggest the government and the Ministry of Industry and Trade encourage the private sector to apply the circular economy models. In the second point, as mentioned in the previous part, the chemical industry of Vietnam were divided into 10 sectors. So they suggest to conduct in detail sector review and develop a plan for the circular economy adoption. Because starting with the most suitable points for the transition, which can be achieved in a short time, tangible result and easy for implementation. In the third point, because plastic waste is a problem in Vietnam, so they suggest the chemical recycling technologies are the key to reuse the plastic waste to produce the new chemical and plastic. Because the chemical can have to extend the life cycle of the end consumer products, and the chemical themselves can also make more the long-lasting. And finally, in their point of view, the chemical companies also can act as an enabler of circularity of the downstream business, because they think about the adopting a sustainable and circular business model. All of the chemical companies can create the value in 4 key dimensions, like the revenue generation, the brand enhancements, the cost saving, and the risk reduction. Our companies, A&B Chemical Corporation, we are a Taiwanese trading chemical company with the 6 overseas offices, including the office in Ho Chi Minh City, were opened in December 26. We are becoming a reliable partner of various customers in Vietnam with the high quality products, and our main products business is the petrochemical items, oleochemicals, and the high-tech fuel materials. As a chemical company, we support the circular economy in Vietnam by joining into Vietnam Circular Economy Hub to understand the transition towards the CE situation. Besides, we provide a consulting service for the water treatment and water recycling to reuse the water from the manufacturers, contributing to reduce the waste discharging into the natural environment. And thank you for listening.